This video will go over dealing with fractions. Many students seem to struggle with fractions. The best way to think about a fraction is simply a fractured whole, okay? The bottom number of the fraction is the denominator. The top number is the numerator, okay? Well, the bottom number, that denominator, it indicates how many pieces the whole is fractured into. So let's go over the rules for dealing with fractions, and then I'll go through some examples. The first rule is to convert whole numbers to fractions and convert any mixed number to an improper fraction. So the next rule is when you're adding or subtracting fractions with common denominators, meaning the denominator is the same, okay, what you do is you keep the same denominator and then add or subtract that numerator, okay? Now remember that denominator, some students like to remember it as the number down under, okay? Again, that's the number on the bottom. Okay, the next rule is when adding or subtracting fractions with uncommon denominators, you have to first get that common denominator and then you can add or subtract. All right? All right, the next rule is then when you're multiplying fractions, you multiply across the top, so you multiply your numerators, and then you multiply across the bottom, so then you multiply your denominators. So when dividing fractions, you're going to multiply that first fraction by the reciprocal of the second fraction. Now all reciprocal means is that you're going to flip that second fraction around, okay? You're going to place the denominator in the numerator and then the numerator into the denominator, okay? I like to think about the word reciprocal as refliprical, okay? That way it helps me remember that I need to flip that fraction when I need to get the reciprocal. All right, and then the final step is to remove any common factors, okay? All right, so let's go through some examples. All right, so let's go ahead and add fractions, and in this case we have, it looks like we're adding two mixed numbers. All right, well our first rule says, right, is to convert those mixed numbers into improper fractions. So let's go ahead and do that. So 1 times 8 is 8, plus 5 is 13, so we place 13 over 8, and then our next mixed number converts to 3 times 8 is 24, and 24 plus 7 is 31, so that's 31 over 8. So now we have 13 over 8 plus 31 over 8. And as we can see, they have a common denominator, so what we need to do is just keep the same denominator, we're not going to change it, and then add the numerator. Okay, so 13 and 31 is 44. And then our next step is to reduce it, okay, simplify it. And the easiest way to do that is to place our numerator into its prime factor. So do a prime factorization of the numerator and then do a prime factorization of the denominator, okay? So all of our prime factors for 44 are 2 times 2 times 11, and our prime factors for 8 are 2 times 2 times 2. So now we need to remove any common factors. Okay, well we have a 2 on the top and a 2 on the bottom, so that can go away. And we have another 2 on the top and another 2 on the bottom, so that can go away. And then we have no more common factors, so we're done. So what's left is 11 on the top and 2 on the bottom. So now our 44 over 8 has been simplified or reduced to 11 over 2. All right. Now, you want to leave it as an improper fraction unless your instructions tell you to change it to some other form. Okay, so if it says place your answer as a mixed number, then you would go ahead and make it 5 1/2. Okay, otherwise just leave it as an improper fraction and then you're done. Okay, so let's look at another one. So let's subtract. So we're going to solve 1/5 minus 5/6. All right. And in this one, the denominators are not the same. So we have to get common denominators, all right? So what we're going to do is find the least common denominator. And in this case, it's 30. And so let's go ahead and create these equivalent fractions because, again, 1/5 is going to be the same as 6 over 30. All right, it's just we cut our whole into 30 pieces instead of 5. All right, so 5 goes into 36. 6 times 1 is 6, so that 1/5 is equivalent to 6 over 30. And then 6 goes into 35, and 5 times 5 is 25. So 5/6 is the same thing as saying 25/30ths. Okay, so now that we have our common denominators, we're going to subtract. So 6/30ths minus 25/30ths is minus 19/30ths. Okay. So now our next step is to list all the prime factors in the numerator and list all the prime factors in the denominator, and then remove any common factors. Well, in this one, as you can see, they have no common factors. So this fraction, 19/30ths, is as simplified as it can be. So with no more common factors existing, our answer is in lowest terms, and so our answer is minus 19/30ths. Okay, so now let's multiply some fractions. All right, so we're going to multiply 6 times 1/2, all right? Well, the first thing to do is to list all the prime factors in the numerator and then list all the prime factors in the denominator. And remember, with multiplication, we're going to just multiply across the top and across the bottom, all right? So let's go ahead and get rid of some common factors. Before we even multiply, we'll just go ahead and get rid of those. The prime factors of 6 are 2 times 3. And actually in 1/2 it's already reduced. It's as low as it can go. So if we can see now that there is a common factor of 2 on the top, and then there's a common factor of 2 on the bottom. So we'll go ahead and get rid of the common factor of 2 from the numerator and the denominator, and then you just multiply what's left. 3 times 1 is 3, and it's over 1. So 3 over 1 simplifies to 3 because 3 divided by 1 is 3. Okay, so that's as low as you can go for that one. So you're done. So now let's go ahead and look at dividing fractions. All right, let's divide 3 1/7 divided by 2 5/14. So again, we have mixed numbers. First rule is to convert those mixed numbers to improper fractions. So converting those, 3 times 7 is 21 plus 1 is 22 over 7. And then 2 times 14 is 28 plus 5 is 33 over 14. And so we need to get the reciprocal of the second fraction, because remember our next rule when dividing is to multiply the first fraction by the reciprocal of the second, and the reciprocal of 14/33s is 33/14s. Remember, we're just going to flip it around. In this case, it's easier just to get rid of the common factors before multiplying, so your numbers aren't as big when you multiply. All right, so to do that is just place each number into, do a prime factorization on each number. So you're going to list in the numerator 22 times 14, it factors to 2 times 11, which is your 22, and that's times 2 times 7, which is your 14. All right, so those are the prime factors for the numerator. And then in the denominator, we have 7 times 33, and that factors down to 7 times 3 times 11. So as we can see, our common factors are 11 and 7, all right? So let's just cross those right off, and then whatever is left, we're just going to multiply, all right? Well, what's left is 2 times 2 on the top. Well, 2 times 2 is 4. And then the only thing left on the bottom is 3, all right? So 3 is our denominator. So our answer is 4/3. And so we're done because it's as low as it can go because we got rid of all of the common factors. Now you could have just multiplied 22 times 14 and got that number, which is 308. And then in the denominator, it's 7 times 33, which is 231. And then you could have just taken those numbers and then factored those out and to do a prime factorization of each of those numbers. But it's just way easier to factor the numbers before you multiply. All right, now you are aware of the 6 rules for dealing with fractions. If you always follow these rules, you'll have no trouble dealing with any fraction that you come across. And that concludes this video.